On the phone tonight, we have elementary school principal Christopher Small. And Dr. Small, is the principal and the Leon County Tallahassee Educator of the Year. Dr. Small, you with us?
Yes, sir.
All right, we've looked at this story, and you've had a chance to look at it today, and you're an elementary school principal. This teacher, are teachers not given rubric to tell them how to deal with students? And what would you do if you had a teacher that was locking a student in a closet?
There are definitely rubrics and expectations that are given to all staff, outside of even being at a specific school. Just in terms of professional certification, there are certain criteria that you have to meet in terms of your understanding of professional judgment, and that clearly wasn't followed in this situation. And looking at the initial report coming in December, I definitely think that should have been the start of something that probably should have continued prior to getting to the point where they are now, in terms of now having full investigation and having outside individuals involved in criminal charges. If those initial reports came in December, there probably should have been some follow through on behalf of the administrators in the school to ensure that there weren't any found just causes for the allegations being made, and apparently there were some just causes for some additional investigation to take place.
Now, legally, this parent obviously said that she would go into trying to figure out what recourse she had. And we know that if a parent abused kids in a certain way, that they could be called in by the Department of Children and Families, or that the child may be taken out of the home. Even though this teacher has been taken out of the classroom, do you think there are criminal charges that will be filed? Could he or she lose their job? What do you think are the next steps that the school board would and or should take?
All of the above. I think at this point they definitely want to go back and investigate thoroughly, and having an interview every single child that's in that teacher's class, interviewing the paraprofessionals that are present to find out what exactly has been, taking place. And unfortunately, that's a long process. The investigation is something that does take a while, and having been through a few of those with similar issues, it takes a while to kind of get all of the things in place. And until that time, the teacher is, just due process of law, does have to be placed on administrative leave until, findings can be concluded. Right, and then at that point, the state would then decide on certification. So if her certification is going to be revoked, and then from there, if criminal charges are pressed, then she would have to, kind of suffer the consequences of those investigations as well. So it's a twofold issue.
Right. Dr. Small, thank you so much for your expertise. We'll be watching the story since it takes place right across our borders over in Georgia. Again, a teacher was taken out of the classroom for locking a child in the closet. Now, there was testimony back and forth, but in the end, the former mayor of Motor City was in hot water still. The verdict is in, and former Detroit Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick was convicted of 22 counts of corruption. Kilpatrick was convicted on this huge list of charges, including fraud, bribery, and extortion. Now, Kilpatrick was mayor of Detroit from 2002 until his resignation in 2008. He's already behind bars from the other case, and from this case, he faces about 20 years in prison, but we won't know. Now, right now, there's no word on when he will be sentenced, but to give us a legal perspective on exactly what Mayor Kilpatrick may go through is Kwame Thompson, and I gotta say, it's a pun with the names Kwame and Kwame, but Kwame, he's joining us live on Skype from Wooderson and Thompson over in Georgia, Wooderson, Thompson, and Val Burn. Kwame, tell us, with the mayor being indicted now on these federal charges, will the federal time that he gets go along with the state time that he received, or what should his prison sentence be like now?
Well, good evening, Rockman, and thank you for having me. Today's verdict, it definitely marks a historic blow to public trust in the city of Detroit. As you have stated, former Mayor Kilpatrick has been found guilty of 22 of the 30 charges of corruption. The two most important federal charges are those of extortion and that of racketeering. Now, what's important in the word racketeering is that racketeering actually traditionally includes other offenses, other criminal offenses. So these will not run simultaneously with any state charges. And the racketeering and extortion charges carry up to a maximum of 20 years.
Is there anything that the former mayor could do at this point that may, since obviously he was convicted by a jury of his peers, do you think there, and I know you've had a little bit of research done on the case, anything that may force a retrial or that he can go and appeal? Is there any appealable stuff in there with these kind of offenses that have been committed?
Well, Rockman, I have followed this case from day one. Of course, a lot of attorneys in America have, because this is one of such a disgrace when you have someone who is a rising star in his party who has been convicted now of these acts of mistrust. Now, there will probably be an appeal. However, you have to realize that these 22 charges stem from the corruption from the 2010 case. Now, there's also a trial that stemmed from a 2008 case, which involved improprieties, which really the mayor had pled guilty to lying under oath. He actually violated probation under those terms and was sentenced to 14 months in jail. So he comes with little to no credibility.
And a whole lot of baggage. And a whole lot of baggage. Kwame, one quick question. We only got a few seconds. We got to wrap up. But can he, let's say he gets out of jail in 20 years. Can he come back from this?
I think that one of the things that the prosecutors has stated, that his criminal enterprise was a private money bank for him, and that his credibility is shot because he has a history of not doing what judges tell him to do, of violating court orders. So I don't think that he will have a career in the public office after this blow.
Kwame Thompson, Wooderson Thompson and Val Byrne over in Georgia, thanks so much for spending time with us. And again, the Detroit mayor, former mayor Kwame Kilpatrick, has been convicted tonight, 22 counts of bribery, embezzlement, all kinds of charges. Well, just ahead on Bounce News, there are sharks, not these kind of sharks, but sharks that swim in the water off the coast of Florida. We'll talk with Casanova Nurse and catch you up with headlines from around the world. We'll be right back. It could be another sign that the economy is getting better. Wedding website TheKnot.com says brides and grooms spent more money to get married last year than they have since the start of the economic downturn. Now, the site says the average wedding bill was just over $28,000. And the site says the average wedding bill, the site says spending increased in almost every category, from photographers to DJs to invitations. Now, couples in Manhattan spent the most, averaging nearly $77,000. And Alaskans were the most frugal. They spent an average of just over $15,000. I know guys, when they hear this story, are probably running the other way because they're not trying to get married anyway. Now, joining us live in the studio, Casanova Nurse, to talk about animal migration. And we've been talking about other kinds of sharks today, but literally black-tip sharks are off the coast of Florida. And we've seen this dramatic video about these just schools and schools of shark that are swimming off the coast. And we're all scared to get in the water. I'm a beach guy. I love the water. Is that something we should be worried about? And is this something that happens all the time? Or is it just now that technology is allowing us to see it, and that's why we're afraid?
Well, the monitoring of the schools of fish, if you will, the pods of sharks, it's been going on for quite some time, and there's a little more ease as far as detecting them. But it's also important to keep in mind this is something that happens every single year. Like many species, they tend to move into more favorable environments during certain parts of the year. And unlike birds that go from colder spots to warmer spots, sharks particularly like the cold water. But they also follow food. Who doesn't like food? Sharks are no different. So in the more southern latitudes, in the Caribbean and certain parts of the Gulf and the Atlantic, the waters are still sufficiently cold, but there's also a greater availability of food. So they tend to follow where the food goes, and they move north and south and vice versa as well. So that's the pattern that's taking place right about now. These areas of sharks are moving into areas where there's more food availability, but the water is still cool.
Should we be afraid? I mean, because they're coming back this way, I'm thinking, as the water warms up. Is that something we should be afraid of? I know, with the Gulf, are they going to come up the east coast of Florida? Will they come into the Gulf? What should we be looking for?
Well, when it comes to the Gulf, it seems like, in fact, there's a little bit of a factoid to give you. There's been 49 species of sharks found in the Gulf. But the one thing about the Gulf that is different from the Atlantic is that along our shore, we don't have an abundance of marine mammals on which sharks like to feed. So they will be in the deep waters of the Gulf, but not necessarily up close like what's been happening off of the Emerald Coast, or not the Emerald Coast, but the Treasure Coast and the southeast coast of Florida. So you may see sharks way off in the distance in the Gulf, but they're not likely to at least make this close of an approach very frequently.
Now, is there any truth to the fact that when sharks get a taste of human meat, that's something they it's a delicacy and they want more, so that's why I've heard these these rumors. Like that's why they hang out in the shore, because they want a taste of human. Is that true?
Not necessarily humans. Sharks will typically leave humans alone unless they feel threatened or if we get close enough to them. But they do savor the flavor of meat in general, not just humans, but if there's like whale chum or something out
dolphin
there, they will definitely look for that source and they'll be attracted to it, and they may try to go ahead and take a bite out of it.
So basically, listen to the warnings.
Yeah.
And you might want to stay out of the water for a while as they continue to go north.
Yeah, those red flags, they go up for a reason, and
gotcha.
it's best to heed those warnings.
Good stuff, good stuff. Casanova Nurse bringing us up to speed on what's happening with the sharks on the coast of Florida. Your best life in just a moment. We'll be right back.
So, exactly
Today in Your Best Life, quite often we spend our days and nights moving so quickly that we don't take time for ourselves. You know, family responsibilities, work, life, everything just moves so quickly. And I mean, who hasn't said there's just not enough hours in the day? But as Thich Nhat Hanh says, taking a few moments could be life-changing.
The practice of meditation, the practice of looking deeply, has the purpose of removing wrong perceptions from us. If we are able to remove our wrong perceptions, we will be able to be free from the afflictions and the sufferings that always arise from wrong perceptions.
So taking those moments to simply clear your head could make your day run smoothly. So stop and enjoy breathing. That's another key to living your best life. I'm in the midst of a meditation challenge, and if you want to join me, check out our Facebook page. We'll put the details there. We'll be right back. Well, thanks for spending time with us. Bounce News. Thanks. I got a shout out to Marilyn Ross and Holly Sun. Thanks for following us on Twitter. You can follow us too at our Twitter feed, Bounce TV Tallahassee. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night.